Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So we are very fortunate here today. We have His Holiness Devamrita Swami Maharaj. Hare Krishna. So we are very fortunate today to have His Holiness Devamrita Swami Maharaj here at the Journey of Self Discovery program. A brief introduction of Maharaj. Maharaj was born in New York in 1950. And at the age of 17, he got scholarship to Yale University, very prestigious university, and he graduated in 1972. After he graduated, he got introduced to Srila Prabhupada's books, and he got attracted to Srila Prabhupada's purity and the knowledge which was coming from his books. And he became his disciple in 1974. He took sannyas in 1982, and then since 2002, he started accepting disciples. He is also part of the governing body commission responsible for managing ISKCON in Australia and in New Zealand. Maharaj is an author of 3 books, Searching for Vedic India, Perfect Escape, and Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. And today Maharaj is going to speak on one of the books in his latest book, which is Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. So Maharaj is carrying the knowledge of Bhakti Yoga and practicing it for more than 40 years. He has been distributing and spreading this mission of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Srila Prabhupada for the last 40 years. So we are really fortunate to have him here today. So please welcome him with Hari Bol. Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Hari Bol! Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Om Gyanajivandasya Gyananjana Salakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that karma is all about actions in relation to material bodies. You all have studied karma. You have some basic understanding of the laws of karma. Every action has a reaction. You see, you live in a materialistic society which recognizes actions and reactions about matter, but there's no understanding of the actions and reactions that you accumulate as a conscious living entity. In other words, it's not simply matter that has reactions. If I take this bottle of water and I throw it on the floor, there's a reaction. That everyone understands. But what about the reactions to my consciousness? First of all, consciousness has no material explanation. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains consciousness as the energy of the Atma, the energy of the soul. Therefore, you can understand that scientists have such a difficult understanding consciousness because consciousness is coming from something even more difficult to understand, the spirit soul. So when you understand karma, you're not simply understanding the actions and reactions of matter. You're dealing with the Bhakti Yoga presentation given by Krishna himself, that your consciousness has reactions. And therefore, we want to purify our consciousness. What is the most visible reaction to our conscious behavior? The very body that you have. Your body is a bag of karmic reactions. Another way you can look at the situation is that your body is itself a karmic reaction. So if you want to look your karma in the eye, you look in the mirror. So this body is not simply flesh, blood, bones. And you know, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna explains that you have a subtle body of mind, intelligence, and false ego. That you have a gross physical body and a subtle body are all reactions to past karmic activity. The gross physical body is the outcome of the struggle of your mind. Minds are struggling in different ways, and therefore there are different bodies. Material existence means a struggle. Krishna explains this in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Manasasthanindriyani prakritistani karshati. Material existence means you're stuck in the oppressive material atmosphere. The Prakriti Sthani. The first sign of human intelligence is to recognize that we're stuck. Just like there's a fly buzzing through the air and it sees a piece of toast covered with honey. The fly becomes attracted. Yes, this will be satisfying, this will be enjoyment. What happens when the fly lands on the piece of toast covered with honey? It becomes stuck. Not only stuck, but what happens the more the fly struggles to get free? The more it becomes entangled. So that is the nature of our material existence. We are attracted to illusory enjoyment. We want to build illusory empires. Make our home the empire, make our business an empire. Maybe even we want political supremacy. So in this way, we have a mission in the material world, which leads to entanglement and struggle. The quest for material happiness means struggle. But because we're so focused on achieving the goal of material happiness, we can't see that we're actually struggling. This is the nature of Maya, Krishna's illusory energy. You're struggling, but you don't even see it. You accept it as normal. So these points are crucial. They're so important for us to understand in terms of our happiness. We have mistaken so many things as happiness when they're actually a struggle. On a cold, windy winter day in Wellington, you put on a coat, a nice coat, and you feel better. But sometimes there are hot days in Wellington, and you take off the coat and you feel better. The same coat, but one day it feels good to put it on, the next day it feels bad, you take it off. So that's the nature of material happiness. You don't recognize that you're struggling. I feel cold, let me put on a coat. You just think about the relief you get after you put the coat on. You don't see it as a struggle. I have to do something, I'm cold. Now I'm warm. That's all you think about, I'm warm. You forget that you had to make an effort to counteract the misery. But that same effort to counteract the misery, what happens in summertime? You're wearing a big coat. You want to take it off. And that you call happiness. I feel better, I took the hot coat off. So this shows you how much of an illusion material happiness is. It's basically a struggle to try and counteract inconvenience and setback. But we think, oh, but I can achieve so many things. I have business goals, financial goals, educational goals, family goals. But all those goals require a struggle. But because we're so attached to the outcome, we overlook the struggle. We're so attached to the outcome that our intelligence becomes bewildered. We don't see that the quest for happiness is hard work. This is why it's so important for everyone to understand the science of Krishna. That there is counterfeit happiness in the material world lets you know that there's real happiness somewhere else. Just like if you have counterfeit money, that lets you know that there's real money, but you don't have it. So the struggle for material happiness lets you know that real happiness exists elsewhere. So what is that real happiness? Finding the real happiness is the quest of a real human being. Real happiness is beyond the actions and reactions of karma. So let us go deeper into the science of happiness. Those of you who are reading Srimad Bhagavatam, the graduate study to Bhagavad Gita, know that in the first canto, Narada Muni explains a very crucial point to Vyasadeva. He says, Tasyaiva heto prayateta kovidam. Someone who's actually a kavi, someone who's actually intelligent, will not waste time endeavoring for anything that's available anywhere in the universe. Whether planets in the material universe down to the lowest. So Narada Muni is going far beyond Earth. He's giving you information of the whole universe. Whether the so-called happiness is higher or lower, the intelligent person doesn't try for it. Why? Because your material happiness will come to you in the exact proportion due to you according to your karma, whether you endeavor for it or not. This is Narada Muni's information given in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam to Vyasadeva. Kalena sarvacha kabira ramhasa. By the force of time, you're being brought your karmic dose of happiness and distress. So when you look at your watch, that's not the full understanding of time. Time is not simply tick-tock, tick-tock, tick-tock. Time is the courier service that's delivering your happiness and distress. So the passing of time means the deliveries are ongoing. You get this happiness, this distress. So what is Narada Muni's proof of this point about the karmic nature of your happiness? This point is further explained by Prahlad Maharaj, the 5-year-old perfect bhakti yogi, in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Prahlad Maharaj is explaining to his school friends. He says, Sukham Aindrayakam Daicha, Dehi Dehinam Yoginam. The happiness that you get in reference to your material body can be had in any species of life. And that material happiness comes to you automatically according to your karma. And what's the proof? How many of you pray for distress? How many of you beg, oh, I need distress, I need suffering? No one does that. But still suffering comes, right? Problems come, but you never asked for it. So this is the point of both Narada Muni in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam and Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto. Just as your distress comes automatically to you without your endeavor, similarly, your happiness will come without your endeavor. Now, this sounds very revolutionary, doesn't it? Because we have been so brainwashed to think that we have to endeavor for happiness. Whereas the secret, the Vedic secret is that you don't endeavor for your distress till it comes. Similarly, you don't endeavor for happiness. You'll get your right amount. Delivered by the courier service of time. In other words, materially, your happiness and distress in this lifetime is already prepackaged. You can affect next lifetime, generally speaking. The laws of karma are very intricate, but we're speaking general principles. You can affect your material happiness and distress for your next life. But this life is a done deal. So then you might think, what will you do if you don't endeavor for happiness? Should you just sleep all day? So people generally become puzzled, they become bewildered. If I don't endeavor for the happiness for me and my family, what do I do? Can you imagine the married men here telling their wife, I don't have to worry about your happiness. It's going to come automatically. How will the ladies feel? No, we're so habituated to endeavor for happiness because we don't know what else to do. We don't know any higher way of activity except trying to grab happiness and beat back distress. That's our whole life, in a nutshell. We're struggling to be happy, and we're struggling to defend ourselves from distress. Not only for ourselves, of course, but for the family, for the relatives. If you are a nationalist, then for the nation. If you have planetary environmental consciousness, you're worried about the whole planet. And so you struggle. And that's called life. Right? People explain to you, that's the way life is. That's what life is all about. You struggle for happiness for yourself and your family members. It's difficult to act on the understanding that the happiness is already prepackaged. How would you live your life according to that principle? It's difficult to understand the principle, and it's difficult to act according to the principle. Because what does Krishna explain in Bhagavad Gita? Prakate kriyamanani gunai karmani sarvasya. The modes of material nature, trigunamayi, force you to act. You're helpless. You might say, oh, now that I understand I don't have to endeavor for material happiness, then I'll be free. No. You may understand it intellectually, but the modes of material nature are pushing you to act. As Krishna explains, ahankara vimudatma kataham iti manyate. Material nature makes a fool of us. It makes us think, I am the doer. When actually everything is being pushed along by material nature, by the modes of material nature. And you're just being swept away. Just like in New Zealand, amongst the tourists, the young tourists, the popular sport is white river rafting. You get in a raft and you go down a rushing river. You're carried away. So that is what our position in material nature is like. We're being swept away. But all the time we're thinking, ahankara vimudatma. We're such a fool. We think, I am the doer. When you're just being swept away. So Krishna in Bhagavad Gita is giving us the deepest insight into what is actually going on in our world. Our world is driven by karma. So you will easily recognize that when some bad event happens to you, or some good fortune happens to you, you say, oh, that's my karma. But what about the happiness and distress that you feel? I'm not simply speaking about your property acquisitions, your bank balance, how many children you have, how big your house is. I'm talking about the quality of your happiness and the quality of your distress. That is also karma. So Narada Muni and Prahlad Maharaj are giving the advice that why should you endeavor for what is going to come your way anyway? But that's hard to act. It's a hard way to act. I won't try to be happy. My happiness will come to me anyway. Do you think you can do that? That's why Krishna says, you're forced to act by material nature. It's a trap. What is the only way out of this karmic trap driven by material nature? The only way out is to engage in Krishna's service and take shelter of Daivi Prakriti, Krishna's spiritual potency. Otherwise, you must be carried away by the material potency. And as you're being carried away by the material potency, you think you are the doer. In this way, Krishna says, the fool carries on. Ahankara vimudatma. You know the word mudha in Sanskrit means fool. And then there's vimudha, that means super fool. So the super fool, educated or not, wealthy or not, thinks, my life is in my hands. Happiness is up to how much I achieve. In New Zealand, you may notice, amongst the Kiwis, happiness is an individual pursuit. You just worry about your own happiness. And in India, happiness is a communal pursuit, family pursuit. You worry about the happiness of your family. But in both cases, there's a basic mistake. Everyone's material happiness will come to them automatically. So why endeavor for it? This is Narada Muni's point. Why endeavor for something within the material universe when it's all going to come to you automatically? So then you say, well, what? You have to do something. Yes, you have to do something. Why not endeavor for your Krishna consciousness? That is outside of karma. Otherwise, you're trapped by karma. What exactly does it mean that your happiness and distress is already arranged by karma? Sometimes persons think that this karmic law means everything you do is predestined. It was predestined that you marry this person and not that person. It was predestined that you have this job and not that job. Actually, no. We're speaking general principles about something very complicated. But it's not that every event in your life is pre-orchestrated. But the amount of happiness you'll get, no matter what you choose, that's predetermined. Just like you may have a certain job, and you think, I don't like this job. The boss is bullying me. There's too much stress. Let me change jobs. So it's not predetermined that you change the job. But what is predetermined? How much happiness you'll get, whether this job or that job. Is a trap, you see? You might think, you go on jatadiya.com and sift through all the possibilities, looking for a wife. This one will make me happy. More than that one. You can choose. You can choose Sunita instead of Aradhana. But still, you have not changed the happiness or distress you're going to get. So the intelligent person understands, no matter how I juggle my material situation, I can't influence the packet of happiness and distress that I'm due. So why should I spend my life making material adjustment? In the Western world, persons would criticize. This attitude is fatalism. And in fact, before the Bhakti Yoga science covered the world, especially as done by Srila Prabhupada, people always had a negative conception of India, that India is suffering because of this fatalistic philosophy that everything is up to your karma. But you can endeavor. You can choose this job, that job, marry this one, marry that one, but you can't change the amount of happiness you're going to get. This is the essential point. So the intelligent person thinks, why should I spend my whole life chopping and changing? Material adjustment here, material adjustment there. It doesn't affect the amount of happiness and distress. So let me stick with what I have. Now you may say, well, isn't that some kind of village attitude? That's the philosophy that will trap you in the village. You'll never make it to Mumbai or Delhi. But you have to understand the depth of this knowledge. It doesn't make you lazy. This knowledge makes you endeavor for what is the real goal of life. For that, you should be industrious, very active, very dynamic. Just like Arjuna in the Battle of Kurukshetra. Arjuna was very active for Krishna's purposes. It's not that Krishna told Arjuna, all right, Arjuna, I'll drive the chariot and you sleep in the back. No, he told Arjuna, Mama Nusma Yujam Cha. Fight and think of me. So Bhakti Yoga is very active for Krishna's pleasure. But we are very miserly, kripana. We think that if I don't endeavor for my own happiness, then there's nothing else to do. We need to understand the secret of devotional service. How to be active on the spiritual platform, beyond karma, beyond the prescribed packet of happiness and distress, is the life of bhakti. So this is why Narada Muni says, don't waste your time endeavoring for what you're going to get anyway. You can see that some persons, no matter how hard they work, they only have a certain amount of money. Others, money falls from the sky. Then you have to be more subtle and see that someone may have lots of money, but they're miserable. They don't have the happiness. Others have very little money, but they're happy. That's why social researchers have pointed out, I quote this in my book, Hiding in Unnatural Happiness. Social researchers have established that the average American is as happy as the, what do you call those guys in Calcutta that, not the rickshaw, they're carrying loads.
Coolie.
Yeah, the coolie. The average American is as happy as the coolie in Calcutta. Okay, so the American may have more money, certainly, than the coolie. But in terms of the actual happiness and life satisfaction, the coolie may have more, due to karma. So it's not just that life is all about money, security. The actual feeling of life satisfaction and happiness is also karmically derived. So what are we going to do about this information? We take up the lifestyle of working hard for Krishna's pleasure, sacrificing the results of our activities for Krishna, just as Arjuna did in Bhagavad Gita. He acted according to his occupation, but he gave the results to Krishna. In this way, Arjuna's activities are free of karma. You become as free as Krishna through Bhakti Yoga. That's why Krishna says in the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Janma karma chame divyam evam yo veti tattvata. Krishna says if you can understand the mystery of his appearance in this world and his activities, then when you give up the present body, you don't take another material body. You go to Krishna. Krishna's activities have nothing to do with the laws of karma. Krishna is sarva karna karnam, the cause of all causes. His body has nothing to do with karma. His body has nothing to do with the material nature and its 3 modes. Krishna is not different from his body. Krishna is so free that he can even appear in the material world and be completely untouched by the material energy. The Bhakti Yoga process teaches you how to be as free as Krishna, even though you're just a tiny part of Krishna. You can become qualitatively as free as Krishna. Just as Krishna is free of birth, death, disease, and old age, you can also be free of birth, death, disease, and old age. Therefore, Narada Muni advises that the Kavi, the truly intelligent person, doesn't endeavor for anything that is the product of karmic reaction. So this information is meant to produce in you dissatisfaction with material happiness. That is a great achievement, to be dissatisfied with material happiness. It's a great gift to give to your children. Dissatisfaction with material happiness. Why? Because there's something much better that Krishna wants to give. So as a parent, it is your responsibility to find out what is that better thing and then distribute it to your family members, so that they don't waste their human life endeavoring for useless things. So this is how to act on the information from both Narada Muni and Prahlad Maharaj. The unnatural happiness is material happiness. What is natural happiness, genuine happiness, is the happiness of the Atma, the spirit soul, in connection to the Supreme Soul, in connection to Krishna. So making advancement in Krishna consciousness, making advancement in bhakti, means you become more and more aware of Krishna's pleasure. But in the beginning, we're fearful that if I stop worrying about my own pleasure, what will happen to me? If I stop worrying about my pleasure and my family's pleasure, we'll be at a disadvantage. Therefore, sometimes it is said actually. I've heard it. Parents advising their children, especially, I have experience in Australia. Many students come from India to study in Australia. And when their parents back in India hear that these students are attending the temple, the parents become very afraid. Oh no, all the happiness will disappear because you'll lose your incentive to work hard. Even their child, their son or daughter, is having good grades at the university, still the parents are afraid. Don't come too close to Krishna. You'll lose all your success. And the young men and women, they also have fears that they can lose their competitive edge at the workplace or at the university by chanting Hare Krishna. That chanting Hare Krishna will automatically make you a sadhu, and then you won't be able to function. This attitude I hear very often. We're so fearful that Krishna is going to interfere with our illusory material happiness. We don't understand that Krishna wants to give us something better. We're proud. Yes, we are very proud. We think we know what happiness is. We know what success is. That's why at the end of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Sarva dharman prityaja mamekam sharanam vraja. Abandon all your conceptions of happiness and take my conception of happiness. That is surrender. The world needs this information. It's meant for the whole world. Krishna is the supreme for everyone. All living entities are his parts and parcels. Whether you are born in Delhi or born in New York, you are part of Krishna. So it is very important that we make this knowledge available throughout the world. Think about what is material happiness. Where does it come from? Where does it go? What determines whether you'll be happy in life or not? This is all about karma. So is there happiness beyond karma? Yes, that is what Bhakti Yoga is about. When the tiny part, the living entity, the Atma, connects to Krishna, the Supreme Atma, in that connection is real happiness. Not if we connect to material nature. But we are so habit-driven to connect with material nature in the form of material success, material wealth, material prestige, material this, material that. We're so attached, thinking that through connection with those things we'll be satisfied. But you won't be able to get more than what your karma allows. And you won't be able to be happy more than what your karma allows. You can change various things in your life, but you can't change the stock of happiness and distress that you're doing. So these are the secrets of the laws of karma in relation to happiness and distress. This is not information for fatalistic or lazy persons. It's information for those who want to use their energy for what is real. Krishna's pleasure is what is real. Material happiness, brought to you by time, comes and goes so quickly. It's insubstantial, shadowy, like a fantasy. The greatest charity work that we can do for humanity is to distribute non-material happiness, non-karmic happiness. And that's what the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra will introduce you to. Non-material happiness means Krishna's pleasure. The devotee seeks to always bring pleasure to Krishna. And because you're part of Krishna, automatically you have pleasure, even without your worrying about it. That's the secret of Bhakti Yoga. So let us take very seriously these instructions from Narada Muni in the first canto of Bhagavatam and Prahlad Maharaj in the 7th canto of Bhagavatam. Perhaps you have some questions. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much for the seminar. Is it possible that material happiness does give some happiness? For example, a hungry man is going to go for food and work hard for food, but once he gets, because a hungry man will not be happy without food. So there's a bare minimum that one should endeavor for material happiness, or how I can say, like, is there, in spiritual life, I mean, could someone use the excuse that I'm working for Krishna, so I'm going to work at my day job for 22 hours a day, or 20 hours a day, or 16 hours a day, because I'm working for Krishna? Is there a limit to that? Is there a limit to how much one should work at his occupational duty? Because I guess it's two questions there. So does material happiness gives a little bit of happiness, and is it required? And then how much one should endeavor for it?
Prahlad Maharaj uses the words in Sanskrit, sukham hitucham. The sukha, the material happiness, is certainly very insignificant. There's just a little bit of something there. It's the reflection of real happiness. But we're so desperate, we make a big thing out of material happiness. But actually, it's just a reflection. And that reflection lasts not very long. It disappears so quickly. And to get it, you have to work so hard. So, we should understand how material happiness is inferior. There's something there. But it's not what you should be struggling for. In a reflection, there's some light. More than that. That's part of your question. As for how hard you work, if you say you're working for Krishna, that means Krishna enjoys the fruits. Not that mentally you say, I'm doing it all for Krishna, and you keep everything for yourself. You know, 2nd chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Karmanyeva Tagadate. Often in India especially, the first part of this verse is quoted. You must do your duty. Right? You're entitled to your duty. What happened to the second half of the verse? Who knows the second half? The translation? Yes?
But you're not entitled to the fruits of your work.
Right! That part everyone forgets. So many times people tell me, oh, Krishna says you must do your duty. So I'm working 80 hours a week, that's my duty. Well, but what are you doing with the fruits? They say, oh, but I'm thinking of Krishna. Krishna's not foolish. Krishna's looking at the bottom line. What we do with the fruits of our labor, that determines whether we are a materialist or not. So, if you have the capacity to work 70 hours a week, and at the same time take care of all aspects of your spiritual life, all right. Different persons have different capacities. If you can take care of all aspects of your life in a balanced way and work 70 hours a week, okay. But not everyone can do that. So you have to see what is your capacity. Whatever you do, dedicate the results, the fruits, to Krishna's service. Have a family dedicated to Krishna's pleasure. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, all that you do as an offering for him. That is success. In our endeavors, we should always leave sufficient time for our spiritual practices. If you can work 70 hours a week and still have time for chanting Hare Krishna, okay. Most persons can't do that. So you have to create space in your schedule for your bhakti yoga activities. Bhakti yoga is a full program of sense activity for Krishna's pleasure. So there must be time for attentive chanting of the Maha Mantra. There must be time for studying Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam. There must be time for associating with devotees. All those things have to be there in a successful life. Anything else? Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you talked about the verse 66 of Bhagavad Gita, 18th chapter, in non-varieties of religion, but you quoted happiness in there. Can you please explain that a little bit more?
Yes. Whether we know it or not, we have established happiness factories. But Krishna is telling you, when he says Sarva Dharma Prityaja, he's telling you, shut down your happiness factory. That's what is a little difficult for us. Krishna is saying, shut down your happiness factory and take my program for happiness. But we're afraid. We're so habituated to karmic activity. We think that unless I endeavor for happiness, it's not going to come to me. So Sarva Dhamma Prityaja means shut down your plan-making happiness factory. Take Krishna's plan for happiness. But we're afraid. We might lose everything and have nothing. Therefore, Krishna comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, all right, taste the nectar of chanting Hare Krishna. And then later we talk about business. Taste first, pay later. Krishna is very strict. Krishna says, first surrender, then taste. But that same Krishna comes as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says, all right, taste first, and then later we talk about surrender. Just like whenever you go to Vrindavan, you go to Lohi Bazaar, where all the shops are. The merchants, they're always calling you. ISKCON, ISKCON, Prabhu, come. taste, taste, come, come, come. They have a picture of Prabhupada on the wall of their shop. Come, taste. They want you to sit down and taste something. And then, of course, they think they can make a sale. Similarly, Lord Chaitanya, he's Krishna. But he's saying, come, taste, taste, come, come. And then later you agree, this is very nice. Then there can be some discussion what the price is. But Krishna is very strict. Pay first, taste later. Surrender first, later. There's the talk of taste. So that is why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the most merciful appearance of Krishna. He gives Krishna away, whereas Krishna himself is very strict. So it is by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we can chant the Hare Krishna mantra. Why is there so much confusion in India about Krishna? Other parts of the world, of course, they don't have any confusion because they don't know anything. But why in the land of Dharma there's so much confusion about Krishna? Because they're not approaching Krishna through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Krishna is difficult to understand. But if you approach Krishna through Sri Krishna Chaitanya, then Krishna can be easily acquired by you. Because people are not understanding Lord Chaitanya's identity and contribution, they're bewildered by Krishna. They call him the Hindu forest love god. They don't understand his behavior with his consorts. They don't understand his behavior during the battle of Kurukshetra. He's the source of all morality. So how do you judge what Krishna does when Krishna's activities are beyond mundane morality? Everything is Krishna's energy. Everything is his property. How can you say Krishna is doing something wrong when everything belongs to Krishna? So it's very necessary for you to understand the science of Krishna. And that's easily done by approaching Krishna through Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Who is Krishna himself? Giving Krishna away. Anything else? Yes.
Thank you, Maharaj. Maharaj, so even when we are endeavoring for spiritual progress, or when we are trying to do some things for the pleasure of Krishna, we feel sometimes frustrated that we are not doing our best. So how should we take that? How should we understand that?
It is good that we always think we could do better for Krishna. That's the beginning of love, when you're always concerned how to improve my service to the beloved. A real devotee never thinks that he or she is doing good enough for Krishna. Bhakti is unlimited. There's no ceiling over your head. Material life, there's a ceiling. A karmic ceiling that you can't get past. But in spiritual life, there's no ceiling over your head. You have unlimited room for the development of your bhakti. That is real freedom. Yeah.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Could you please clarify this one? So today I'm in one job, and next year I will be getting new job, better job or worse job. It is. If my understanding is correct, it is predestined. But the material modes that I am in.
What is predestined is the amount of job satisfaction you'll get. You can change jobs so many times, but you can't change the qualitative happiness, material happiness that you're going to feel. But of course, if you are working for Krishna's pleasure, then you're in a different arena. You're not performing karmic activity. If your life is dedicated to Krishna's pleasure, you're in a completely different arena. You understand?
Yeah. So the material modes I'm in, are they going to influence? Are they going to my material modes? Are they going to influence the endeavor that I'm going to put for the new job or?
I don't know. It depends on how serious you are in chanting Hare Krishna. Depends on the quality of your bhakti yoga practice, how much you are under the influence of the modes of material nature. You have the potential to become completely free from the modes of material nature. Mamcha yoga vicharena bhakti yogena sevate saganan samatijayata brahmabhuyaya gopa. If you're fully engaged in Krishna's service, then you're free from the modes of material nature. All right, that's our goal. And the goal is progressively achieved. So we cannot say for sure that you are simply under the control of modes of material nature. Humbly you would think that, but everything depends on the quality of your bhakti practice. How free from the modes of material nature you are and can become. Yes?
Thank you, Maharaj. I'm at college at the moment and I'm having my exams for the first time. So I need to work a lot and put a lot of endeavor in. So how do I apply the principle you just explained to my situation? How do I study to please Krishna?
You do your best
But
and accept the result.
But doing my best or not doing it wouldn't really affect the grade, would it? Because
Yes, it will,
we explained.
but you're not trying to be happy from all that, are you? Huh? You're getting your happiness from chanting the Mahamantra, yes? So you do your best in your studies. And then depend on Krishna for the rest. Bhakti yoga is not an excuse for laziness in our practical affairs. You're going to school? Why not do your best? But your whole life is not depending on it. It's a part of life. It's a part of your being in this world. You have to take care of the body, execute your bodily affairs. So going to school is part of being in this world. But it's not the most important thing in your life, is it? The most important thing in your life is Krishna's pleasure. But the most important thing is Krishna's pleasure doesn't mean you neglect your duties. You have to learn the bhakti art of how everything can be done with Krishna in the center. Working, studying, Okay? Yes?
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for your seminar. Can you expand a little bit more about if we're not entitled to the fruits of our action? Like, in practical terms, the fruits of my action, for instance, would be my pay.
Yes, exactly. You understand.
So am I not entitled to the pay?
Go to work to give, not to get. Going to work to give means, obviously you're going to work or you're having a business for making money. Use that money to give yourself Krishna consciousness, give it to your family, and as much of the world as your resources allow. That's going to work to give. So yes, obviously you're going to work because you're getting paid. But what do you do with the pay? Use it to support a bhakti lifestyle for you, for your family, and then help others with your resources. As far as your resources go, use them in that way. Maybe you're a billionaire, you can help thousands of people to find out about Krishna. Maybe you're not a billionaire, maybe you just have small income. Use something for helping others. Go to work to give. Give yourself bhakti culture, give it to your family. Okay? It's a different mentality than going to work to get. For me, for me, for me. Yes?
How can we develop enthusiasm and taste for chanting?
Study the glories of the holy name. The more you become aware of the glories of the holy name and meditate on the glories of the holy name, the more you'll be inspired to hear the holy name. Throughout Srimad Bhagavatam, there are so many descriptions of the glories of the holy name of Krishna. And endeavor to hear and discuss Krishna in the association of sincere devotees. What does Lord Kapila Deva explain in the 3rd canto of Bhagavatam? Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hit karna rasayana kata. When the talks about Krishna take place in the assembly of those who are very dedicated devotees, the talks become more powerful. So study the glories of the holy name and discuss the science of Krishna, glorify Krishna in the association of sincere devotees. And your taste will increase. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
So, at school, so most of the people at my school are atheists, and I found...
They say they're atheists?
Yeah, they tell me that they are. And
They think it's the latest style?
but,
I don't know that they'd even think about it.
so, like, most people I've seen make fun of, like, say, like, gods from other religions, like Jesus or somewhat. And then, like, I'm feeling this social discomfort, or I'm, like, afraid to tell them that I'm following Krishna consciousness, because they usually ask me, oh, why are you vegetarian? Before you used to eat meat. Why are you vegetarian now? What has changed? And I don't really want to lie to them, saying that like, I've just, like, chosen to, like, I don't want to be harmful to animals or something like that, so...
Well, you don't. You don't want to harm animals. So that's not lying.
Well, it's like, I feel like that's not the complete reason.
But you have to administer the knowledge in appropriate dosage You can't overdose persons.
So yeah, my like struggle is that from my point of view, it seems like because of Krishna consciousness, I'm socially struggling, just like the general public. So how do I contrast?
You feel isolated. Do you have some devotee friends?
Yeah, at like the temple. And
Okay. So we need to increase the possibilities for your association with devotee friends. How old are you? 13. Because you become like whom you associate with. So it's good that you're very observant about these things. In the temple community, there should be a format where the young people can associate with each other, so they don't feel so isolated. A community of devotees needs such opportunities. So it's very good that you're noticing this need. And be careful in your social interactions. You don't have to try to explain everything, overdosing the person. Be tactful and strategic. No need to be in anxiety. Very nice questions. How are we doing in terms of time? All right. What time do you take prasad?
In half an hour.
Huh? Nothing else? Yes.
Mine is a similar situation what Sri was describing, but in terms of a work situation, when you go to work, there are social events,
Yes.
things like that. Like Christmas is coming, so there'll be a Christmas party. And of course, what's going to happen is everyone will be drinking, and there'll be a party like that after work. Now, not attending social functions can also have an impact on your career progression and things like that.
Yes.
And if you are Krishna conscious and things like that, should we avoid those situations, or how should we handle those situations?
If you can avoid them, that's the best thing. But as you say, sometimes avoiding them is detrimental for your career progress. Work is theatrics, you know. You have to get into the drama. You can't take it all so seriously. Just play your part on the stage. And I recommend, because this question comes up very often, how do you socialize at work? Because people expect you to say something about something. You can't just be totally quiet, because then you're accused of not being a team player. So what I advise is, you find, this is practical survival tactics. Find one material topic that you can talk about easily and be known for that. The last person who asked me this question, I asked him. He was a corporate engineer. I said, well, what's one thing you can talk about that doesn't drag down your consciousness? You can easily talk about it and then leave it. He thought a while and he said, cricket. It comes easy to him. whenever the corporation is having their cricket matches amongst the staff, he's always the star. So I said, so you just be practical, play the drama. You scan the sports headlines before going to work. When you get to the office, you just say something. Did you see about this? India, Pakistan, did you? Just say a few things like that. And that came easy to him. He didn't have to devote so much head space. And so then that gives some way that the other people can understand you. He's a quiet man, he's a religious man, but he sure knows his cricket. They need something, you know? Bhakti life is practical. We're not fanatics. We know how to do everything expertly for Krishna's pleasure. Just like when I visit my relatives. That's once a year. Sannyasi, I visit once a year, 48 hours, that's it. So naturally the relatives want to talk. So what am I supposed to do? I don't have a family that wants to hear about Krishna. But I have to talk about something. So I found what's easy for me to talk about. And they're all interested. I talk about airlines. Because I'm always traveling. Oh, Air New Zealand has these kind of seats. United Airlines has those kind of seats. Oh, really? Next time you go on your holiday, take this airline, not that airline. That comes easy to me. I know all about airlines. So that's the one thing I talk about. And then they think, okay, there's something that we can relate with. Otherwise, if there's nothing that they can relate with, they feel uncomfortable, you feel uncomfortable, especially at the workplace. So you have to play the part of the drama. It's not so difficult once you learn the art. Just like with this corporate engineer. He would just scan the sports headlines in the cricket world, note a few things, and then go to work and greet everyone in the office. Did you see that match last night? And they would talk about it for a while, then leave them alone. So that's what I mean about being tactful. Just like some of my relatives were going on an overseas trip. So then they called me up. What kind of travel insurance should we get? So I was able to explain to them all about travel insurance. Make sure there's an evacuation policy. That if you get sick overseas, the travel insurance will pay for you to be transported back home. I thought, oh, very good, he knows so much. So in Bhakti, we're very expert at everything. So you find a way that you can communicate at the workplace without being considered a misfit. Yeah.
Is there a limit to that? I guess for different people it's different rules, in the sense that if you're talking about cricket and then they ask you to play for the club cricket match on every Saturday, then is that okay? Or is it that there's a limit to how many club sports that you already should play?
Of course. You want to do the minimum for surviving at your job. Because your life is dedicated to the 9 processes of devotional service. everyone's job is different. Like for this corporate engineer, once a year he'd be the star of his staff's cricket team. Once a year. They have their annual cricket match amongst them. Not that he played every weekend. So you have to know, this is what it means that a bhakti yogi is expert. You know just how much to do to push on your practical affairs. We're not fanatics. We're expert. Pinpoint precision. Just like many of you know Gopal Guru. He asked me once that for his job, he had to take out to lunch various customers because he was in sales, selling housing developments. So, taking the client out to lunch, generally they want to drink. So he was asking what to do about that. And it's generally the person who's organizing the lunch pays for the drinks. So he said, well, he's asking, Guru Maharaj, how can I pay for the drinks? I said, here's what you do. You want them to sign up. You want them to buy what you're selling. So let them drink all they want. Let them get nice and toasted so they'll do what you want. You have to be strategic. He can drink his fruit juice and they can drink their alcohol and have another. Now sign on for that. We have to learn how to carry on expertly for Krishna's pleasure. Yes.
Maharaj, we talked about happiness and distress, unnatural happiness. And throughout Gita, Krishna talks about happiness and distress and equilibrium. In the end of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna says that my illusion is now gone.
Yes.
I'll act according.
Nashta moha smritir labda karishye vachanam tava.
But we see during the Mahabharata war that when his son gets killed, Abhimanyu, he all of a sudden takes a vow of revenge. That doesn't seem like he had mastered. So
now that's Kshatriya life. The Vedic warrior, the Kshatriya, yes, operates on revenge, yes. That's part of fighting. He's not a Brahmana. Brahmana tolerates. Kshatriya, no, I'll get you back. That's part of the battle. It's part of heroism. Just like when Ashvatthama beheaded the 5 sleeping children of the Pandavas. What did Arjuna say to Draupadi? I'll get him, I'll cut off his head and let you take your bath standing on his head. This is Kshatriya life. Passion, victory, defeat. So don't judge Arjuna in terms of his execution of occupational affairs. Don't judge him as if he's a Brahmana. That's why Krishna told him, Mama nusmra yujjam cha. Fight and think of me, but fight. Arjuna wanted to walk away from the battle in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. But Krishna told him, wait, that's not your occupational behavior. Happy are those Kshatriyas whom such fighting opportunities come. Yeah. So Arjuna was being like a Brahmana in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita. Oh, they're so attached to the kingdom, let them have it. Why should we who know better become entangled in this whole conflict? Sin will overcome us. The family will be destroyed. The women will be corrupted. And what was Krishna's response? Pragyavadam stabhashase. You're speaking big words, but you don't know what you're talking about. He was giving Krishna a lecture in sociology. Krishna told him, actually, you don't know what you're talking about.
So, Maharaj, does it mean that if apparently we're in the grab of material mode and act as in whatever material mode we are, that's okay, as long as you're doing our prescribed duties?
Give me an example, please.
Like a kshatriya is to fight, and a businessman is to make money.
Yes.
A trader is to make money.
You're a businessman?
But most of us are like employees, salary class, working class.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So if you're constantly thinking of how to make money or more money, because that's where people in the employee class or business class do. That means that mindset is right as long as I keep Krishna in the center.
As long as you're acting for Krishna's pleasure, that Krishna enjoys the fruits. Everything depends on who the enjoyer of the fruits is. And your life has to be in balance, not that you spend all day and night working and forget about chanting Hare Krishna. And then if you have a family, you have to see that your family becomes Krishna's devotee. That takes time. So bhakti requires guidance, because we have the tendency to either go too far this side or that side. We become too lax, or else we become too fanatical. We require guidance.
Thank you. There's competition now.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Okay.
Maharaj, in one of the answers you mentioned that we should know not to give overdose of the knowledge. So when actually the devotees receive this knowledge in the beginning, they become very enthusiastic to share that knowledge. And in that they make a lot of mistakes. So are there any practical tips that you can give to stop this overdose?
Well, it's not really a mistake. It's like you're not yet expert. You're right. What you're saying is correct. So that's not a mistake, but you can be more expert. But you have to start somewhere. Therefore, it's good to take guidance, how to administer the medicine. You have to be right, and also go about being right in the right way. But that takes some time. So it's not a mistake to say what is true, but in the future, you'll become more expert. You'll develop a sense of timing and tact. And you'll more quickly learn this art by associating with those who know the art. That's why so many times I have to caution young devotees. Be careful, don't overdose your parents. Doesn't matter whether they're from India or New Zealand, that tendency, the enthusiasm. Look what I'm doing now. Let me explain, I'm sure you'll understand. So they have to calm down and be more strategic. And that takes guidance. Everyone should have guidance. Bhakti is all about guidance. How to do things in the best way for Krishna's pleasure. I was just talking today to one young man from Germany. And he overdosed his parents, and he realized it. So I told him, gradually he'll understand. more strategic way of dealing with the situation. Before that, I was in India, and same thing. One young man overdosed his parents. His parents, they became very upset. Oh no, he's chanting Hare Krishna. That means he must become a brahmachari. Oh no, chanting Hare Krishna means you become a brahmachari. So I had to tell the young man to just calm down, take one step at a time. Treat your parents with respect, but you have to be careful in how you present what you're doing so they don't unnecessarily become alarmed. Because the young man was explaining, well, my parents have seen so many false gurus in India, so many false organizations. So they're afraid. What is their son doing now? He's going to waste his life. So I said, appreciate their concern, but show them in your activities that you're being progressive in all aspects of your life. Because often the parents are afraid, oh, you'll stop studying, you won't get a job. Show them that's not true. In fact, show them that your grades are even better. Show them how you're being more conscientious. Devotees are expert. Yes.
Maharaj, within our families, we might be at different levels of bhakti. How does this principle of overdose works there?
How does the principle what?
Overdosing works there.
You have to deal with each individual carefully. Sometimes the husband is more devotional than the wife, or sometimes the wife is more devotional than the husband. So one has to be very strategic. When it is a case of the wife being more devotional than the husband, I generally advise the wife, become an expert cook. Fill him up with wonderful prasad. He'll change his tune after a while.
What about if it's the other thing? If it's the other way around, if the husband is more progressed in bhakti, how does the wife deal with that?
The husband should show her that he's not going to neglect her. That he's become even more attentive. Ladies are always complaining the man's not attentive enough. You can never do enough. Always something missing, something wrong. Right? So if the husband shows the wife that, just see, I'm becoming more sensitive, more attentive, more conscientious, then after a while the wife will think, this is very good. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I'm not sure how to word this question. I have a 27-year-old son, and I spoke to him today. He wants to go to Mayapur for about a week to 10 days, which is just something that's just, a friend is there at the moment, another devotee. So I said to him, you need to think about the whole picture in perspective.
Whole picture of what?
Just going ahead, and as a mom, I'm thinking, well, you should be thinking about settling down, or, when you're...
How old is he?
He's 27. The
Oh.
way we
So if he doesn't marry now, he'll never marry. There'll be no grandchildren.
I think I'll have grandchildren because I know he would love to have children. He's really good with children as well.
But you're afraid if he waits too long, he'll be considered too old.
No, it's not that even. For them, Maharaj, what the problem is, when we grew up, we knew we would have arranged marriages.
I understand.
For our children growing up in the West, it's really difficult, you know, they don't want us showing them any prospective partners. And, you know, for them it's very difficult to go and find somebody themselves as well. He doesn't have anybody. I know that. I know that for sure. So, my question is, sorry Maharaj, my question is, you know, obviously he's doing everything, his service for Krishna and everything, and I'm really proud of that as well. But as a mother, how do we find that balance or the perspective for them as well, so that I can support him in both?
Both what?
Like, as if he wants to settle down, because he does eventually. How do I support that and his devotional aspect going ahead?
Well, he'll make his choices, yes?
He will, because when he rang me today, I did say to him, are you asking me or are you telling me? I did say that.
So you're going to allow him to make his choices?
He will, because I also said to him, I don't want you to feel that Mom said no. So you think about it and you have to make your choice. I said that to him.
He's a 27-year-old man and he's practicing bhakti, yes? So this is very good. Give him some confidence that you have confidence in him. Sounds like he's making a great success of his life so far.
Well, he's doing pretty well.
Yes. But mums always want more, right? Never good enough.
Not that. I suppose from our perspective, we probably go, if you've got somebody together, what about our obligations to settle our children? You know, where does that...
Where do you live?
In Lower Hutt here.
Yes, so?
And he's in England at the moment.
Yes, so? Mothers never stop worrying. Huh?
I said to Krishna, find a Radha for him. That's what I said.
A mother's job is never done. The worry goes on. It's like my mother is 89 and she's still telling me, oh, I remember when I held you in my arms, you were just a little baby. She's 89 years old. When does it end? So it's good that you have a devotee son, and hopefully he'll give you a devotee daughter-in-law. How are we doing for time?
Finish now. Right. If anyone has any pressing questions, they can ask the last one.
Last question. Short. Who hasn't asked? He hasn't asked the question in the back. Yes.
So regarding the material job, Maharaj, Hare Krishna, sorry. Are we not materially happy with the job because we are not doing the job which is suited to our guna and karma? Is that also a result of our past karma? Partaking with the jobs which are not according to our guna and karma.
Do you have a choice?
We have free will.
But do you have other opportunities? Other work opportunities?
If we create one.
Are you able to create one?
I'll say yes.
If you're able to create something that's better, go ahead and try. But the question, the most important question is, are you working under the influence of the material energy or the devotional energy? That's the real question. You try your best and you depend on Krishna for the results. But the most important question is, are you a karmic worker or are you working in bhakti? That's the most essential question. So what do you say? That's the question you have to solve. All right. Thank you for that last question. It's very practical.